All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the InstructLab community meeting for February 11th, 2025. Before we get started on the meeting proper, let's go through some of the usual reminders to keep in mind throughout the meeting. Our meetings are governed by the InstructLab Community Code of Conduct, which is linked here from the meeting notes. Our meetings are recorded, as mentioned, and we will post recordings in the YouTube channel. I have not had a chance to upload last week's recording. That's why it's not there, but I will do it after this meeting. If you prefer not to be on camera, please feel free to join with your cameras off, or there's also an option to dial in via the phone with phone numbers here. If you are using the Google Meet interface, you can use the raise hand function to ask questions or make comments. If you're on the phone, just feel free to jump in at appropriate times. There's also a chat function in Google Meet where you can use to comment or ask questions or join in the discussions, and we'll make sure to bring your comments into the meeting. And at the end of each meeting, we have an option for you to add your names and GitHub IDs to the list. So it's great to learn about who's joining us, especially for those who might be attending for the first time or joining us, as newcomers. We would love to hear from you as well. All right. With that, that reminders out of the way, let's get on to the meeting proper. Laura, let's talk about host access on large meetings.
Sure. So this, to give clarity on why exactly I'm bringing this up, last week, obviously a lot of people were at FOSDEM and other events in Europe, and the US time zone events, I was trying to host office hours and I had no access to be able to start the meeting. The meeting itself is locked to admit only versus being open to all. So it kind of caused a little bit of a problem, and we had some folks who were waiting to get into office hours, and there's not really a clear way to announce that, hey, we're moving to another link, another Google Meet room. So I'm bringing it up because this is something that I'd like to have a plan for. If you are not available, if you are running something and something like that, maybe designate a host or turn that link on, or somehow, how can we indicate to the world that it's going to be on a different meeting link for a specific period of time? I don't know how that is. I didn't see anything in governance, but I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good point, and we should have a more systematic way of planning for alternates or backup plans if somebody is not able to host the meetings. Currently, different meetings kind of have their own. There's how to say that there's some similarities or some common ways of doing things, but that we haven't like had a proper way of written down rule of what to do. Some meetings, the ones I host, I make sure there's at least 2 or 3 other people who have access to start a meeting if possible. We also don't want people to jump on the meeting without a host because we want to make sure there's somebody who can run it and provide structure to it. So it makes sense to have at least, let's say, 3 people with access to be able to start the meeting, to record the meeting if needed, or just to have access to the to the meeting infra, the Google Meet stuff, right? So I would make sure that the different meeting owners of this, the community, the core, UI, the office hours, and so on, appoint at least 2 backups to each meeting. And in a very rare or unlikely case that all three people are unavailable, which is, like for example, around the holidays or something, then there should be a way to announce in advance. We usually anticipate something like that, Christmas break and sometimes summer holidays where a lot of people are not around, and announce that 2-3 weeks in advance on the meeting minutes in the Slack and Discord channels, and so that people know, or also remove them from the calendar so that people will not see that on the calendar and show up. But giving the person additional host access to the meeting will also mean that these 2-3 people have access to the calendar entry to be able to remove that. Yeah, so Jen brought up a good point of whether we have guidelines for running meetings, templates, and stuff like that. Currently, we have a collaboration doc which lists the meetings. We should probably have additional information on how do you start a new meeting if you want to start something on a different topic, and what are the rules and guidelines for that. That will apply for the whole community and not just specific meetings. So that will be something we should include and add for our community for sure. Currently, these kind of collaboration docs are found in github.com/instruct-lab/community. So please, you're more than welcome to create a PR and submit some suggestions to get started with, and we can iterate on that. Comments from Laura or maybe JJ, you have access to, I think, to the office hours. Yes.
I think one of the things that comes up is that you have to have an instruct-lab.ai account to be able to actually host the meeting. I think
No.
that's what it's locked to right now. So
right now you don't need an access. You don't need to have access to instruct-lab.ai account. You will need it to create the meeting, I think. But then the person who created the meeting can add anyone with any other email address to be a co-host. Yes, JJ.
Yeah, I think I was about to just say the same thing. So I know in the past we've just added people to be co-hosts in the invite. I think we just needed to add you, Laura. And also we should probably add anyone else who's consistently showing up to these different meetings. So then to Carol's point, we have coverage in case something goes wrong for whatever reason. But I mean, someone's got to sit down and do it, right?
Yeah, I guess I want to just make sure that this came up and we know what's happening next, because there will, we're getting into conference season, and there's a lot of different people who are going to be traveling. I mean, it's just the thing. So really kind of focusing on having that plan, I think, is the really important part.
Yep. Thanks for bringing it up. Definitely, we want to make sure that we have the coverage, and if we don't, we give people enough time to be able to plan around it and announce it as well. So JJ, I think you have the access to the office hours. Would you be able to add Laura and maybe somebody else who can usually support that?
We'll try, I think. I don't know. We'll see. I don't Google Calendar, and I've never seen eye to eye. So
JJ, you want me to hop on with you? I can help you fix it.
Yeah, you will need to first invite Laura as invitee on the calendar, and then be able to add under settings, add her as the a co-host. It's a it's a 2-step thing, but yeah, hopefully you'll be able to do that.
I can't do it through iCal, can I?
Not that I'm aware of. You
No,
might,
JJ, no.
Oh, see, that's the problem. It's like I have four
right.
different calendars for 5 p.m. So that's
I feel
why.
your pain, but yeah. All right. Anybody have any comments on this, or would like to know more? Okay. If not, we'll make sure we get this taken care of async after the meeting. All right. Let's see. Events. Yes, as we were talking about, what happens when we're in the conference season. The past week, some of you might know that there have been several events in a row. The main one is the FOSDEM event, which is held every year in Brussels. This is the 25th year. I got a T-shirt saying it's been 25 years. It's my own 10th FOSDEM in person, 12 if you count the virtual ones. So again, it's one of the largest, probably the largest free and open source software event. Has like 7,000 to 8,000 attendees. It's totally free. There's no ticketing. You don't have to buy tickets or even register. But it's a lot of. Was it like 50 or 60 dev rooms this year? Countless stands, countless volunteers. The biggest track is the hallway track. So it's definitely an experience for those who have not experienced it. And even for us who have gone for many times, it's a new experience every time. We have JJ was one of the co-hosts for the low-level AI track, where there are a lot of great talks. I believe the recordings for all the tracks and dev rooms will be released very soon. So I will make sure to share and link the InstructLab related ones in our meetings as well as on the socials. And because FOSDEM is such a major event, there's a lot of fringe events surrounding it. Cedric and I were part of CentOS Connect. We had a presentation there. Then there is also the config management camp, so CentOS Connect is the day before FOSDEM, and config management camp is like 3 days after FOSDEM on 3 separate days. So Monday to Wednesday after FOSDEM. So there's lots of other fringe events. And the AI Dev Room had an AI Plumbers Conference also the day after FOSDEM. So lots of great content. As the recordings are being finalized, I'll make sure to share those wherever appropriate. Anybody who has attended these events over the past week and would like to share their thoughts, experiences, feedback from it? Yes, JJ.
Yeah. So I just plus one everything Carol said. I think one of my previous mentors said it best. FOSDEM is like boot camp for nerds. Everyone's smelly. Everybody needs to go at least once, and only the masochistic go back more than once. So it's you genuinely will meet people there that you'll know for the rest of your career, and you'll be amazed on the connections you can gain and organize you for the next year and possibly the rest of your life. I do want to say I did have a lot of good conversations with a ton of people in the space, and something that highlights, especially for our community, uh, is that the low-level work that the room ran was a mismatch. Uh, there were more people who were still trying to understand how to leverage AI in their daily workflow or what AI can do for them, compared to what VLLM is or what Apache Spark is, or or no, sorry, it's called Apache Arrow, I think, or something, whatever. The point being is, so the reason I'm bringing this up is that that's prime for our community, right? the InstructLab ecosystem and what we've done together as a team. I'm looking at you, Charlie. We can absolutely bring this to the masses and be able to leverage InstructLab to be that avenue to people being able to implement AI in a trusted way. And every conversation I came back to, I always ended up eventually talking about InstructLab. But after laying the foundation of what AI can actually do, what it can make our lives a little bit better, and frankly, what a token is. It's shocking how many people still don't know what tokens are. So it was a nice little gut check to recognize that even though over the last year and a half that we've all been working together, um, there's still the normies out there who think ChatGPT is the only thing to do. So it was nice to get that reiteration.
Thanks so much, JJ. Jen, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, hey everyone, thanks for having me. First time at this meeting. Just started kind of learning about all this. Or InstructLab, that is. So JJ, I'm curious, like, two things. Like, do you feel like the audience for InstructLab is a little bit more technical, data scientist type group, and so you're not really trying to talk to the normies? And second thing is, should there be, if you are trying to talk to the normies and then get them to InstructLab, which seems like a big leap to me, like maybe they won't be ready for InstructLab for like another year if they continue to learn. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then, should there be some sort of like documentation on kind of what you tell them, what that whole bridging the gap conversation is?
That is a great question. So there is as you start wading the waters of our project here, let's put it that way, you'll quickly recognize that there is a duality inside this project, and it all goes down to the people who are invested in it, and the InstructLab ecosystem. When you start telling people that it can basically build a way for you can have a trusted AI that that you can train, that can do exactly what you want for your own data. For instance, like your company's HR documentation or your company's expense report or whatever, right? Or your policies and procedures, and have an intelligent, not intelligent, but a resource that you can ask questions to give that information out. People start seeing a value there because now all of a sudden you don't need to have mundane work starts disappearing. But then on the other side, there's another whole section of the project that leverages data scientists to do that, and it maps directly to the RHEL AI, OpenShift AI conversation. OpenShift AI is something you use a Jupyter notebook to talk to, where InstructLab and RHEL AI is something you'd use something like anything LLM or locally with a llama to talk to. And we have this strange duality whenever we talk to people, because it's when we start confusing and conflating conversations, people start wondering which different directions you should go. The normies out there, they don't need data science stuff, right? Let's just be frank, right? They don't care, right? There's a market for data scientists. Don't get me wrong, we absolutely need that, but the normies don't care about that. But they still need to know they still need to know that part exists. So we need to have a targeted conversation for data scientists, which is a much larger one for the greater good of humanity, compared to what's my insurance for my company, right? But they both require such a level of knowledge of how AIs work right now that it becomes a very long, meandering conversation to fill in all those gaps. And I've learned that I walk into a room, and Carol, you saw this exactly happen when we did the workshop. The You start the conversation with people trying to do the the workshop with InstructLab, and then you just ask the question, you're like, what is a token, and what are you actually trying to do here? What is fine tuning? And everyone has a different answer. And you're like, okay, so before you even start writing these commands down, let's actually talk about what you're trying to do and why this is important. Oh, okay. What's the difference between ChatGPT or Gemini and running something like Granite on our local machine? Oh, wait. So wait, everything I send to ChatGPT, even if they say it's protected because I'm paying for ChatGPT, there's no way I can verify that they're not stealing my data. I can't do that, right? And that conversation spurs a lot of other conversations. And it's a very natural, and back to Carol's point of the hallway track, that's what these conferences are, is finding the people who are interested in this space and continue on. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. No, it makes a lot of sense. I've kind of been there, totally different topic, but talking to folks on the hallway track and explaining, just there being various levels of where people are. And, I just kind of think about like how best to spend your time at these conferences and kind of like how much time do you spend on the general awareness topic and how much time do you spend on the, like, okay, someone could actually come and collaborate with InstructLab, and like, is that more valuable than the general awareness conversation? So those types of questions come up in my mind. I think it's probably good to have all the conversations, right? But if you want to, my mind kind of goes to like down the road, I guess, and like in terms of like equipping people as the community grows to like have the conversations. You said there's a lot of knowledge that you need to have maybe specific parts of these conversations. So I don't know if there's like a one pager or a diagram.
Unfortunately, there's not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I make the joke that whenever I get on stage, it's like, remember that thing Kubernetes or OpenShift? Remember how hard that was in moving to cloud native? Yeah, this is 4 times harder than that.
Right.
And people's faces just drop
Really?
because it really genuinely is. It's not just containerizing an app. There's so much more to this now, and that one pager is, if at all, is years away.
Yeah.
And on top of that, too, one of our promises for the longest time was that you could run a lot of this stuff on your laptop,
Yeah.
right? And actually be able to train on your laptop. And that was one of the big selling points, is that we've democratized AI, right? Anyone can add things to the community model build, and you just put in this YAML file, and congratulations, you'll have you in n number of weeks. We're not going to talk about how many number that was. We'll release a model to Hugging Face that you can say, I helped train that model. That was an amazing selling point to get the community to be a part of it. But as we've progressed in time, we've realized that that process just doesn't do what we expected it to do.
Okay.
And in order for you to actually use InstructLab at a production grade that you would actually want to like do it in the real world, you need A100s or H100 GPUs.
Okay.
So I just told you need a $60,000 to $70,000 computer running this thing.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden the masses start being like, I have an X1 Carbon. Like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
oh, okay, it's going to take 6 weeks to train or create the training data before you even start training the model, which will take a month and a half because you're doing it with CPU. That's a very hard conversation to have.
Yeah. So no, that's really a huge update that it's not actually, because I've been watching the videos, and yeah, the laptop is a big selling point, and maybe it shouldn't be. And then, just to say, like, maybe the audience for InstructLab really needs to be like narrowed down to what it actually is. And I don't know, spread across.
That's the problem, right? All of a sudden, we're not talking to normies anymore.
Yeah.
And we're talking to data scientists can afford this stuff because they have they
Right.
have data centers of hardware. They can understand how to leverage this stuff. But if all of a sudden we take this away from the normies, now all of a sudden we don't gain anything for the like we're now targeting like 6 people instead of 6,000 people. That's a much harder conversation.
Yeah. So I wonder too, maybe there's a point in time where we y'all can think through what the value then is for the normies. If it's not the laptop and the production level, then what is it? And so then that's it's okay to be dual audience if there really is value for this other group.
The way I see it and the way I've thought through this, because this is what I do all day, every day, right? Is that assuming you go down the path that we are telling you about, we're building an AI that I'm okay that my kids will be able to use in 20 years. We have opened up and created a pane into the AI training system where you can look for bias. You can look for the way things are being added to the model compared to our competitors who will never give us the data. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like one of the funniest jokes is, or what actually is a joke, but one of the best stories we have about this, and I'll finish this and I'll let you speak, Carol, sorry, is that when we were first doing the taxonomy team back in April of last year, all our examples were jokes to coming off of it to get people to add new YAMLs and new jokes to the model. And I remember a good friend of mine, Arnaud, he looked at me in one of the triage meetings. He's like, JJ, that's not even funny. And I looked at him like, oh, you're French. Oh, this is a US dad joke. This means nothing to you, right? And because it was a stupid pun. And then all of a sudden, it highlighted the moment that the reason why this project existed. We have created a way for a global team of people to create an AI that has a voice from all over the world. Yeah. Our competitors, we will never know. They might do it, but they don't talk about that. And because we have that on our forefront, that was a big deal. And that made me just fall in love with the project more.
So just super quick question. So can normal people then contribute to that thing that you're saying, let's build this?
That was the community model build. And that was a whole project that we were doing for a very long time. And then we ran into resource problems where we actually got one release of it done just before the calendar year turned over for Granite 3. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of conversations around continuing it because it turns out there's a lot more logistics and conversations of what we're trying to do around it that is out of scope of this conversation. But the original plan was to go down that path.
Okay. Interesting. Great.
Yeah, definitely great conversation, a great topic to discuss. And I think even before we, talk to and reach out to the normies, I discovered at Config Management Camp, which is, it's configuration management camp. A lot of the attendees there are very technical in their specialized fields. And a lot of these tech savvy people are actually quite, what's the word, apprehensive, or, they're not sold on, a lot of them are not sold on the whole AI thing. Aside from the very small group of people who are, AI all the way, we're doing all these. But in general, many of, whether it's trust issue, ethical issues, privacy issues, a lot of these are on people's minds. And actually, when we planned for the InstructLab workshop at this event, I was, I made sure we had provisioned 50 VMs on the Red Hat demo platform to get ready for, I was hoping for 30 to 50 people signing up. On the first day of the event, I learned that we only had 11 people signed up, which, it was quite discouraging because I was thinking more people would be interested. As I did the hallway track throughout the event, I discovered that, people are just like, why are we spending all this time talking about this? They have these questions about what are we using AI for? And these people are, not what we call normies, right? They are there talking about very deep technical subjects. And they have these kind of questioning. They are not questioning the technology behind it so much, right? They can understand probably that even more than myself. But it's like having these conversations. So when on Wednesday's lab, I was so glad that JJ was there to support that. I could probably just run the lab part, but the really leading the discussion around AI and what we're trying to do with InstructLab and Granite models was really the key thing. Around 20 people showed up, double the number who initially signed up. And, we spent most of the workshop time talking and discussing, asking questions and things like that, and rather than the actual workshop itself. So
Yeah, no, that's such a great point that like even the technically inclined have this hurdle to get over, these reservations.
right.
That require a discussion and require, somebody like JJ perhaps to like really get into it with them in order to get over that a little bit to even get to the technical side. So that's a really yeah, and that's normal, right? It's part of the process, but it definitely is good to recognize that and kind of just put that into the plan in some way.
Yeah, definitely. JJ.
Sorry. Oh, that was bad. I will end on this one note just to make sure that everyone realizes this too. The workshop that Carol was running, we also ran it at a handful of other events, including Tech Exchange, and we've had significant feedback about how amazing it is because it walks you through everything. Like it's the instead of like why are we getting in the car, how do we? This is actually how you drive the car, kind of thing, right? Which is important. And one of the best things that we came from, for at least from my side, by the way, I'm an IBMer. I'm not actually a Red Hatter, but you keep seeing me show up in Red Hat things, but I'm actually an IBMer. One of the best things about the workshop is that we actually had a friend from the Saudi Kingdom show up and to the workshop and was able to get his little Raspberry Pi working with the with everything he learned inside the workshop on his Raspberry Pi right then and there. He couldn't train the model, obviously, because it's a Raspberry Pi, but he was able to inference against it. And all of a sudden, he was able to walk away in the time it took him to do the workshop to a handful of minutes afterwards off the conference Wi-Fi, might I add, to be able to get the model working inside of there where he could take it back to his boss in the kingdom and be like, I have my own AI that we can talk to right here, right now. That is insanely powerful, right?
Wow,
and that is something to be proud of, to show that level of grokking. But that is obviously one example, but that's still a pretty damn good one.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. Is that workshop like available for other people to see? Is it recorded anywhere? And will you be presenting it elsewhere?
So the workshop is it's tied to the playground or whatever it's called for Red Hat.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that we haven't publicized it because it's one of those things that we want to have gated with conversations.
Yeah, right. You want to have
Yeah.
people that signed up and signed in and have like a audience.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it does use compute and compute resources and stuff, so there is a cost attached to it. We ran these workshops mostly for free, or like as part of events. One of them coming up is SOP Force North, which I've linked here.
Mhm.
The source code of the workshop, that means like the text of what commands to run, those are available on GitHub. I can link to it. But to actually provision the VMs and stuff like that, spin up the hardware to do that, that's part of the Red Hat demo platform.
Okay.
So that then needs additional resources, like I said, and so we have to specially order them for each event and so on.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, but otherwise it's a browser based thing, so the attendees can just run it in their browsers and walk through the steps.
Yeah.
And be able to try these commands out for themselves without having to bring like certain hardware specs and stuff like that.
So there's like a middle ground of like
Right.
playing with it that you can get something out of. That's really cool. Well, I have another meeting to run too, but I really appreciate you taking all my questions and having me.
No, thanks a lot for being here. I hope to see you next time, Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
All right. Any other? I guess I linked to the workshop later. Okay. Yeah, speaking of upcoming events, we do have the Force North that I mentioned. It's another Force event, mainly focused in the Nordic area in Europe, but there's usually speakers from not just in the Nordic region, but across Europe and sometimes from the other continents as well. So if you're in the area, it's in Gothenburg, Sweden, April 14th and 15th, off the top of my head. Please check out the link if you're interested. There's also Arc of AI, which is in Austin, 31st of March. Do we have Legree or Cedric online?
I didn't know about this.
I
should
just
be
learned
there.
about it myself. I believe it's Grant's team who is sponsoring, and I don't know what kind of presence we'll have yet. If you check out the website, it's kind of just announcing it right now, I think. Arc of AI. Yeah, I don't know if they have an agenda yet, but I think some of them. So yeah, I mean, supposedly InstructLab is a sponsor. I think it's listed there. But in terms of the actual info, like I said, I also just learned about it. So that's why I was gonna share it, because hopefully more people will find out about it and maybe be able to attend. Yeah, and I guess Cedric has already dropped off. He might know something about it. Maybe I'll get more information and share that in the next meetings. All right, thanks for the three of you for staying with us until now. Is there anything else you would like to talk about or comment on before we drop? Okay. If not, thanks for being here. I think that was a great discussion, and I'm sure we'll have more of that at events and in our meetings. So thanks for that, and we'll chat more next week. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.